I bought a house in secret, then caught my mom giving a tour to my brother's wife and a friend. I smiled, waited for them to leave, then changed every lock. That feeling when you're about to do something that will change everything. That electric buzz in your chest that says, you're either about to make the best decision of your life, or the worst mistake. I had both sensations coursing through me as I signed the papers for 847 Maple Ridge Drive. My name is Brinley. 6 months ago, I did something my family would never see coming. I bought a house, not just any house, a gorgeous 3-bedroom Craftsman in the heart of Riverside Heights. Complete with a wraparound porch, original hardwood floors, and a kitchen that belonged in a magazine. The kind of place I dreamed about since I was 12 years old. Matching floor plans in my notebooks during math class. But here's the thing. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents, my brother James, not even my best friend Savannah. The house was my secret, my sanctuary. My chance to finally have something that was completely and utterly mine. Growing up as the middle child in the Hartford family meant I was used to being overlooked. James, my older brother, was the Golden Boy star quarterback in high school, business degree from Northwestern, married to his college sweetheart, Amber, and now running Dad's construction company. Then there was my younger sister Paige, the artistic one, currently getting her MFA in Chicago on my parents' time. And me, I was just Brinley, practical one. The one who worked 2 jobs through community college, who saved every penny, who never asked for anything. While James got a down payment gift for his first house, and Paige got tuition money, I got lectures about being more responsible with my finances when I finally had enough. Saved for a down payment to 5 years of working as a dental hygienist and running a small photography business on weekends. I decided to prove just how responsible I could be. I found the perfect house, got pre-approved for a mortgage, and made an offer without breathing a word. To anyone, the seller, Mrs. Kellerman, was moving to Florida to be closer to her grandchildren. She loved that a young woman was buying her family home. The place where she'd raised her own children. During the walk-through, she told me stories about birthday parties in the backyard, Christmas mornings by the fireplace, and how the kitchen window had the perfect view for watching neighborhood kids walk to school. "This house needs a family again," she said, pressing the keys into my palm on closing day. "Been waiting for the right person." I spent 3 months secretly furnishing it. Piece by piece I drive there after work. Sometimes just to sit on the porch swing and watch the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. I planted tulip bulbs in the front flower bed and hung string lights in the backyard. I even adopted a rescue cat, a ginger tabby I named Muffin, who seemed to understand that our little secret was precious. The plan was simple. I'd live there quietly for a few months, get settled, then surprise my family during Christmas dinner with a big reveal. I'd casually mention my new place and watch their faces when they realize their irresponsible daughter had bought a house all on her own. But life has a funny way of ruining even the best laid plans. It was a Tuesday morning in late October when everything started to unravel. I was at work, cleaning Mrs. Patterson's teeth and listening to her complain about her son-in-law's eating habits, when my phone buzzed with a notification for my security camera app. I'd installed security cameras. Sue me. I'm a single woman living alone. And after watching too many true crime documentaries, I wasn't taking any chances. The cameras were discreet positioned to monitor the front door and driveway. I rarely checked them during work hours, but something made me glance at my phone between patients. My blood turned to ice water. There, clear as day on my front porch, stood my mother, and she wasn't alone. Amber, James' wife, was with her along with someone. I didn't recognize, a blonde woman in an expensive-looking coat. Mom was fumbling with something in her purse, and then she pulled out a key to my house. I watched in horror as my mother unlocked my front door and gestured for the other women to follow her inside. The timestamp showed they'd been there for 7 minutes already. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm so sorry, but I have a family emergency," I said, my voice somehow steady despite the earthquake happening in my chest. "We'll need to reschedule your cleaning." I drove home like a woman possessed, my mind racing with questions. How did Mom get a key? How did she even know about the house? What the hell was she doing? Giving tours to James, his wife, and some random stranger? By the time I reached Maple Ridge Drive, the women were gone. The evidence of their visit was everywhere. The front door was slightly ajar. Mom had always been careless about locking up. Inside, I could see the signs of their intrusion: moved furniture, open cabinets, even the refrigerator door left slightly open. But it was the note on my kitchen counter that really sent me over the edge, written in Mom's familiar handwriting. "Brinley, honey, I know you're upset. This is for the best. Amber and Denise, my realtor friend, think this place has real potential. We'll talk tonight. Love, Mom, P.S. Cute cat. I sat down hard on my couch. The couch I'd saved for 3 months to buy the couch. I'd carefully chosen to fit perfectly in this space, and tried to process what was happening. My mother had somehow discovered my house and a key, and was now showing it to potential buyers without my knowledge or consent. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about the house. It was about everything. Every time I'd been overlooked, every time my achievements had been minimized, every time I've been treated like the afterthought child who couldn't possibly know what was best for herself. I called Mom immediately. Good. You got my note. She chirped, as if breaking into someone's house was just another Tuesday activity. Listen, sweetie. I know you're probably confused. Confused? I interrupted. Mom, how did you get a key to my house? Mrs. Kellerman. Daughter is in my book club. And when she mentioned selling to a young Hartford girl, put 2 and 2 together. I've been worried sick about you living in that neighborhood all alone. It's not safe for a single woman, and honestly the mortgage must be stretching your budget thin. The neighborhood wasn't unsafe. It was actually one of the nicer areas in town, but that was beside the... So you got a spare key and decided to show my house to strangers. Amber mentioned that she and James might be interested in a rental property as an investment. And Denise is the best realtor in the county. I thought I hung up that evening. My phone rang non-stop. First Mom, then James, then even Dad chimed in with his usual. Let's all just calm down and talk about this reasonably approach. I ignored them all and spent the evening researching locksmith. But avoidance only works for so long. The next day, James showed up at my work. Brian, we need to talk, he said, using the childhood nickname that usually melted my defenses. Not today. I'm working, James. Mom told me what happened. Look, I had no idea she was going to do that. Amber mentioned wanting to look at investment properties, and Mom just how she gets when she thinks she's helping. I finished updating my patience chart before looking at him. James was still handsome at 32 with the same dark hair and green eyes we'd all inherited from Dad. He was wearing his usual uniform of khakis and a button-down shirt, looking every inch the successful businessman. How long have you known? I asked. Known what about the house? James? How long have you known? I bought a house. He had the grace to look ashamed. Mom figured it out about a month ago. She was worried about you, said you'd been acting strange, secretive. She asked me to talk to you, but I told her to mind her own business. Clearly, she listened to that advice. Brinley, come on. She's just trying to look out for you. That neighborhood is perfectly safe. I finished. And even if it wasn't, it's my choice to make. I'm 28 years old, James. I don't need Mom's permission to buy a house, but maybe you could have mentioned it. We are family. That word family hung between us like a challenge, because what he really meant was families don't keep secrets from each other. Families talk about big decisions. Families ask for advice and input and approval. But in my experience, family meant different things for different people. For James, family meant unconditional support and celebration of every milestone. For Paige, it meant financial backing and cheerleading for every artistic endeavor. For me, it meant skepticism, lectures about practicality, and the assumption that I couldn't handle adult decisions on my own. I'll call Mom tonight, I said finally, but James, if you or Amber or anyone else shows up at my house uninvited again, I'm calling the police. That's not a threat. It's a promise, James. His face flushed red. Jesus, bring. She's our mother, not some criminal. She broke into my house. She has a key that I didn't give her. The waiting room was starting to stare. So I lowered my voice. I have to get back to work. We'll talk later. But as James left, I could see the familiar expression on his face. The same look he'd worn when we were kids, and I'd done something he couldn't understand. It was a mixture of frustration and pity, as if I was being deliberately difficult instead of standing up for myself. That night, I called a locksmith. Brinley, Marie Hartford. You open this door right now. Mom's voice carried clearly through my new deadbolt lock as she pounded on my front door Thursday evening. I sat curled up on my couch with Muffin purring in my lap, watching through the window as she jabbed angrily at the doorbell. I know you're in there. Your car is in the driveway. I'd been expecting this ever since the locksmith left that morning. Jonathan, from Secure Solutions, had done an excellent job. New deadbolts, new doorknob locks, even a new lock on the back gate. When I'd explained the situation, diplomatically calling it a family boundary issue, he'd nodded knowingly. Family disputes are the worst, he'd said, testing the smooth turn of the new keys. Good for you for taking control of your space. Now, watching Mom's increasingly frantic attempts to get inside, I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and guilt. The satisfaction was winning. My phone rang. Mom Brinley. This is ridiculous. Open the door, so we can talk like adults. You can talk through the door, Mom, or you can call first next time like a normal person. Normal people don't change their locks to keep their mothers out. Normal mothers don't break into their children's houses. There was a pause, and I could practically hear her recalibrating her approach. Honey, I understand you're upset. I should have asked permission before showing the house. But I was genuinely worried about you, this neighborhood, this mortgage payment. It's too much for someone in your position. My position, you know what I mean. You're doing well for yourself, sweetheart. This house is ambitious. James and Amber could help you with the financial burden. If you rented it to them, or if the market is good, you could sell and make a nice profit, get something more appropriate. There was that word again. The one that had followed me my entire life. Brinley's career choice was appropriate for someone who wasn't college material. Her apartment was appropriate for a single woman. Her car was appropriate for her budget. This house, this beautiful, perfect house that I bought with my own money, my own credit, my own hard work. Apparently, this was not appropriate for someone like me. Mom, I'm not selling my house. But if you just listen to Denise, his advice. I don't care about Denise's advice. I don't care about James and Amber's investment plans. This is my house, and I'm keeping it. Brinley, Marie, you're being stubborn and short-sighted. This is exactly the kind of impulsive decision-making that worries your father. And me can't just shut out your family when we're trying to help you. I walked to the window and looked out at her, even in the porch light. I could see the familiar expression of frustrated concern that she wore whenever I did something she couldn't control. I'm not shutting out my family, Mom. I'm setting boundaries. If you want to visit my house, you call first and ask permission. If I say no, you respect that. You definitely don't give tours to people without my consent. I was trying to help you see your options. I didn't ask for your help. The line went quiet for a long moment. When Mom spoke again, her voice was tight with hurt and anger. Fine. Have it your way? Don't come crying to us when this house becomes too much to handle, and don't expect us to bail you out when you realize you've made a mistake. She hung up through the window. I watched her march back to her car, Dad's old Ford pickup, and drive away with more force than necessary. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt empowered and strong and proud of myself for standing my ground. Instead, I felt terribly, achingly alone. The next 2 weeks were some of the loneliness of my life. No calls from Mom, no texts from James. Even Paige, who usually stayed out of family drama, sent only a brief message. Heard about the house situation. Maybe just apologize and move on. Apologize for what? For buying a house, for wanting privacy, for refusing to let my family make decisions about my life without consulting me. I threw myself into making my house feel more like home. I painted the guest bedroom, a soft lavender, installed floating shelves in the living room, and finally hung the gallery wall of photographs I'd been planning for months. Muffin supervised every project from his favorite sunny spot by the kitchen window. But even the satisfaction of creating my perfect space couldn't completely fill the hollow feeling in my chest. I gotten what I wanted. Independence, boundaries, respect for my choices, but the cost was starting to feel heavier than I'd anticipated. That's when Savannah showed up with takeout from the Ouija's and a bottle of wine. Spill, she said, settling cross-legged on my living room floor with her chicken parmesan. I heard through the grapevine that you bought a house and are currently feuding with the entire Hartford clan. As your best friend, I'm deeply offended that I had to learn this from my hairdresser. Cousin works at the title company. Savannah had been my closest friend since we bonded over terrible cafeteria pizza in 7th grade. She was the only person who never made me feel like I needed to apologize for existing, which was probably why I'd been avoiding her. I knew she'd ask the hard questions. I wasn't ready to answer. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, I said, surprising myself by how defensive I sounded. I just wanted something that was mine, something that no one could have opinions about or try to fix or improve. And instead of just enjoying your gorgeous house, which is absolutely stunning by the way, you're sitting here eating sad sandwiches and brooding like a character in a Victorian novel. She wasn't wrong. I had been eating a lot of sad sandwiches, save, they don't respect me. They never have. Mom got a key to my house from someone else's daughter, and gave tours like it was her property to show off. James thought it was perfectly reasonable for them to discuss my financial decisions behind my back. Even Dad just wants me to compromise and see their side. So what's your end game here? Never speak to them again. I stared at the wine in my glass, watching the light from my new lampshade create patterns on the surface. I don't know. 3 days later, everything changed again. I was leaving work when I spotted James's Chevy Silverado in the parking lot. But instead of James behind the wheel, it was Amber. My sister-in-law rolled down the window as I approached my Honda Civic, her expression unreadable. "Can we talk?" she asked. Amber and I had always had a polite but distant relationships. She was everything I wasn't: blonde, bubbly with a marketing degree, and a talent for making James feel like the center of the universe. We'd never had a real conversation beyond pleasantries at family dinners. If this is about the house situation, it is, but probably not the way you think. She gestured to the passenger seat. "Please." 5 minutes against my better judgment. Got in the truck. Amber immediately turned to face me, her usual bright smile replaced by something more serious. "I owe you an apology," she said, a big one. That wasn't what I'd expected. James doesn't know I'm here, and he'd probably be furious if he found out. But I can't let this go on without telling you the truth. "What truth?" Amber took a deep breath. "Your mom didn't just randomly decide to show me your house," I asked her till my stomach dropped. "What?" "Not the way it sounds," she rushed to explain. "God, this is coming out all wrong. James and I have been having problems, financial problems. His dad's company is struggling more than anyone wants to admit. We're behind on our mortgage. James is too proud to tell your parents how bad things really are." I stared at her, trying to process this information. "James, the golden boy, was having money problems. When your mom mentioned that you bought a house, I swear, Brittany, I had no idea you were keeping it secret. I got this desperate idea. I thought maybe you'd be willing to rent out a room, or even let us house it. Sometimes I wasn't trying to take your house or anything like that. I was just drowning and grasping at straws." Pieces were starting to fall into place. They were forming a picture I didn't like. "So, you asked Mom to show you around?" "I asked if she thought you might be open to having roommates. She said she'd look into it." I had no idea she was going to break in with some realtor. When James told me what happened, I felt sick. This whole mess is my fault. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of family secrets and unspoken struggles settling between us. "Why didn't James just ask me for help?" I asked finally. Amber laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. "Pride, I guess. He's supposed to be the successful one. Remember, the one who has it all figured out. Asking his little sister for help would mean admitting that he doesn't." "Little sister." Even Amber saw me that way. "I'm not little anymore," I said quietly. "No," Amber agreed, looking around at my car, my work badge, the evidence of my independent life. "You're really not. And for what it's worth, your house is beautiful. You should be proud of what you've accomplished." It was the first time anyone in my family had said that weekend. I made a decision that surprised even me. I invited them all over for dinner. Mom, Dad, James, Amber, even Paige drove down from Chicago. I sent a group text Saturday morning: "Family dinner at my place Sunday at 6, dress casual. I'm cooking." The responses came in a flurry of confused emerges and tentative acceptances. Mom called twice. I let it go to voicemail. I had things to prepare. Sunday evening I watched from my kitchen window as they pulled into my driveway. Mom emerged from Dad's truck looking nervous. James and Amber climbed out of the Silverado, Amber carrying what looked like a bottle of wine. Paige arrived last in her beat-up Subaru, her curly hair escaping from a messy bun. I opened the door before they could knock. "Welcome to my home," I said, stepping aside to let them in. The tour I gave them was nothing like the unauthorized one Mom had conducted. I showed them every room with pride, explaining my decorating choices, pointing out the original architectural details, introducing them to Muffin. I watched their faces as they took in the space I'd created, really looked at it. "Maybe for the first time, Brinley, this is," Dad started, then seemed to lose words. He ran his hand along the restored mantelpiece in the living room. "His contractors are appreciating the craftsmanship. Gorgeous," Paige finished. "I can't believe you did all this yourself." Over dinner, homemade lasagna, garlic bread, and a salad from vegetables I'd grown in my backyard garden, told them the whole story, how I'd saved for 5 years, how I'd researched neighborhoods and mortgage rates and home inspections, how I'd fallen in love with this house the moment I saw the listing. "But why didn't you tell us?" Mom asked, her voice small. "We could have helped, because I wanted to do it myself." I said simply, because every time I've made a decision in my life, someone in this family has had an opinion about how I could do it better. I wanted one thing. Just one thing that was completely mine. James shifted uncomfortably in his chair. We don't do that. Don't you? I looked around the table. James. When I started my photography business, did you say he was quiet? You said it was nice that I had a little hobby to keep me busy. Dad, when I got promoted to lead hygienist, you said it was good experience, for when I decided to do something more serious with my life. Mom, when I bought my car, you spent an hour explaining why sedan would have been more practical than my Jeep. The silence stretched uncomfortably. I love you all. I continued. But I needed to prove to myself that I could make good decisions without a committee. And I did. I bought a house, and it's perfect, and I'm proud of myself. Amber spoke up suddenly. I owe you an apology too, about the whole rental thing. I should have talked to you directly instead of going through your mom. James looked at his wife in surprise, clearly hearing this part of the story for the first time. Money problems. I asked gently. James's jaw tightened, but Amber nodded. Construction business has been slow. We're managing, been stressful. I looked at my brother, really looked at him. For the first time, I could see the stress lines around his eyes, the way his shoulders carry tension. Golden Boy wasn't as golden as everyone thought. If you need help, I started. We don't need. James began automatically, then stopped himself. Sorry, old habits. If you need help, I repeated firmly. You can ask me. But you ask me directly. And you respect whatever answer I give. Deal? He nodded, looking slightly stunned. And Mom, I turned to face her. I need you to understand something. I'm not angry because you were trying to help. I'm angry because you didn't trust me to know what I needed. Getting a key to my house without asking, bringing strangers inside, making plans for my property. It's not help. That's control. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I just worry about you. You're so independent, so determined to do everything alone. I wanted to make sure you had options. I appreciate that you worry, but I need you to trust that I can handle my own life. Even if I make mistakes, they're mine to make. We talked until almost midnight, clearing the air about decades of misunderstandings and unspoken expectations. It wasn't a perfect conversation. There were tears-raised voices and moments when I thought someone might storm out. But it was honest in a way our family hadn't been in years when they finally left. Mom hugged me extra tight at the door. I'm proud of you, she whispered. I should have said that first, as I watched their taillights disappear. Down Maple Ridge Drive, I felt something shift inside my chest. The hollow feeling that had been my constant companion for weeks was finally starting to fill with something warmer. I was still standing in my doorway when my phone buzzed with a text from James. Thanks for dinner. The house is amazing. You did good, sis. For the first time in months, I fell asleep that night, feeling like I truly belong somewhere. Not just in my house, but in my family. The difference was that now I belonged on my own terms. And sometimes that makes all the difference in the world.